Okay. There's one, two, three, four, five. All right, let's do a little different intro today. We'll do a like a rap. It's my friend
Let's hear it.
Soulogy. Soulogy One Studios meditation.
This is a 528 hertz heart chakra opener, love frequency. I was guided with a little message. Started writing. Okay, there we go. Spiritual gangster claiming one, dividing self, one complaint at a time. Instead, I'm gonna spew through this little rhyme. Ready? Here we go. Love and light, this is how we fight. Sending out acceptance. Change isn't what we do, change is what we are. You wanna be a spiritual gangster? Stop the venom spew. Trump is who we consciously chose. It's who we've got, whether you want to believe it or not. Spiritual gangsta, put your ego aside. Stop whining. Injustice, another illusion, because we are free. Stand with me, us, the one, here to learn how to love all that stand before me. I shall wash your feet. Oneness is the only way we will ever be complete. I'm not judging, brothers and sisters. This is a friendly reminder. Breathe, just be. Allow your heart to lead. You desire change? Change your mind. Feel before your fingers hit the keys. Feel before you speak. Be an example of this love ministry. You sick of hypocrites and posers you claim? Can't be one that makes you just the same. Again, desire change, go silent. Don't speak, send love. Hate is for the weak. Let's take the high road together. We have changed Earth, Gaia forever. Pride in your country, your world, no divide. Pull up your big girl panties, it's time to ride. Soulogy style. Today is a happy day. Praise be to us. Praise Blu-ray. Put love where your mouth is.
It's pretty good way to start the day.
I like it.
Yeah, she's very cool. She was big in the starting up Soulogy One Studios. Yeah, and well, her name, she goes by Willow Love now. She was Angie Love or Lady Love. We're very good friends, like us, like yeah. It's pretty cool. So I had done like around 12 Soul Speak videos. I had just gotten into it, and she calls me up one day and she's like, I had this dream and I heard us singing a duet, and I'm not a singer. So I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And so what happened was I did 12 of them. So she said that to me like, maybe I had done 6 or 7 or 8. I don't remember. And so I had this cataclysmic event happen. One of those ass kickers in the Ascension, right? And so what happened was I had got my two youngest kids back. I came off the streets. I got them back. We spent almost 3 years together. And then it was time to go. They went to live with another relative. And so on that day, though, it was May the 23rd, whatever the year was, 2016. I went into I just started bawling. So I went into the bathroom. I used to, because I had somebody staying at the house. So I didn't have the privacy in the studio. So I went to the bathroom, and I had a rack there, and I stood it up. And she had sent me this verse, this poem, this incredible poem. And so I just made the video. I mean, I made it right there, and I just freestyled in between her. So it came true. It was weird. She saw it, and it wasn't planned, and it happened. Anyway, somebody says it's Monday already. Yeah, I was up at 6:30. I think Israel and Michael were up late, and Delia, who knows? I don't think Delia sleeps. Delia was probably one of those healing chambers.
I was in a really weird space where it's between etheric and not sleep. So I've always had issues sleeping. So my sisters, when I was younger, they wouldn't even knock on the door because I used to sleep in the living room, and they would just whisper my name, and I'll come and open the door. So I'm that sensitive that I just go into a stasis. But it was just so much energy. So much energy. I literally fell asleep. This is my stone that I found on my path. Yeah, it's a feather yellow jasper, which is having to do with anchoring, connecting, as well as spiritual work and getting rid of toxins and everything else. It was interesting. So I fell asleep with it, and I can feel the vibration of it anchoring me. And I fell asleep with my other one. It's a quartz. And I was like, oh my God, this is massive. This is massive. But it was interesting.
Well, I've seen quite a few people talk about not being able to sleep the last few days. Speaking of interesting, Michael, did you watch that Lori Ladd deal last night? Or you watched the replay?
Yeah, I watched it. I couldn't sleep, and so it was perfect because I watched it at like 1 a.m. And that was phenomenal. I wasn't really familiar with her work too much.
Yeah.
But some of the key points or things that just really stood out to me was I love how she doesn't frame things as like getting lost in storylines or people, but rather what is the fabric of the specific energy. So when she talks about like COVID or just, maybe like the racial divide, everything that's going on, she talks about how everything can be traced back to the vibrational signature of fear. And when she kept referencing fear and, control, subjugation, this is what these energies feel like. Yeah. That really stood out to me. And then I spoke with Marina a little bit about it. And a couple of years ago, she had a vision too of like just one by one, each form lighting up as pure light, pure energy. Yeah. So I loved that visual Lori gave, about everything lighting up. I thought that was cool. And then it was really just powerful to witness you having like initiations and your what you were seeing, the messages you were getting. Yeah. And then Lori was like, yes, they're saying yes. And that was awesome. Did you figure out Well, did you sit with it? What you were opening? Because then I'm like, what are you opening?
Yeah, because there was a gold. There was a gold box, like you wrap a Christmas present with gold wrapping paper. You know how they'll wrap the top and then wrap the bottom separately, and then they place it on there, put a ribbon about it. It looked like that. The first thing I saw was a green oval, multi-sided, like I think there had to be 150 sides to this thing. It was like an emerald. And inside the emerald, now this I picked up after. I saw it at the beginning, but I quickly went to that other thing, that egg, this egg-looking thing. Mm-hmm. But I did see the emerald first, but the other thing popped in. But then when I went back and I was sitting down afterwards and I looked at it, inside of this this emerald was a gold, it looked like a Merkaba. Mm. It had like a circle, and then it had like the two pyramids, you know.
Yeah.
And then you had the Merkaba looks, and it was spinning. I remember that too. But like those types of what am I trying to say? Those types of exchanges are really the individual or individuals reflecting, the mirror reflecting back to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything outside of me or you or whatever is me. So when you come across someone who's at the same place or close enough place, they're going to reflect back to you. It's happened to me a few times, because it's never them. It's always me. It doesn't just apply to shit that makes you angry. It applies to everything.
Exactly. It was beautiful to watch. I mean, it was funny too, because when you're getting hit with this massive energy, you literally just disappeared.
Yeah. Well, who did?
You did. We didn't even see you. This it just disappeared. You're coming in and out. Yeah, the screen would go out.
That was crazy. I've used this new program 400 times because I used it April. No, I think actually March, April, May, June. I've used it more than that. So 400 or 500 times. I've never had a problem. I've never been knocked off. I've never had a prolonged problem during the show. And it makes no sense because I got like 5G. I mean, like the highest speed, whatever that is, 150 something per second but God, that was.
It was just the energy that you're getting hit with. It was just massive. Plus, you got that transmission as well as you're seeing everything. It was just boom at the moment. And where's that moment where we didn't know you were on or not on? I was like, well, obviously he's on because he's still filming. He's still live. So it was interesting, but it was fun to watch the entire interaction.
Well, especially because, right when you said that it started going up and you felt like a little bit of relief, then there weren't any more technical.
I know. Wasn't that crazy? Like getting knocked off, I think had to happen. And then the crazy thing was I got knocked off. She was still on the screen, but I couldn't get back in the studio. So I'm sitting there watching it. I don't know. It was not a coincidence. It was not a coincidence.
You both of you did a really, you're both just so anchored in yourselves. Because even when you got knocked off, I'm just starting to get used to Zoom and all these different ways of interacting remotely. But when you got knocked off, she did a really good job of just jumping in, and she was really just funny. She was just like, all right, this is the Lori show. Hi. And her energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
it was nice to have that loosening up of the energy because it was funny, but at the same time, there was massive energy. And I'm sure everybody felt it. Everybody that's seeing it, it was just There's so much layers that are happening and are being exposed. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of us are also not having to deal with sleep, where our bodies are entirely in a different state.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Well, I just think that she's amazing. You know, she's so down to earth, no bullshit, no pretension. She says fuck. So that's all right with me.
Yeah. Did brother freeze?
Yeah, he did freeze. Slightly.
Energy.
Yeah, see, we were talking about it. But it's fun overall just to see these things that are happening, because before we got on, he was getting hit with massive energy.
Yeah.
And he even told us we're gonna have to be the ones anchoring it today. It's like, here you go.
I think one of my favorite things Lori said yesterday was,
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
there we are. We're back.
I don't know, man. I might have to go back to Zoom. Yeah. I don't know. That's crazy. Y'all were still on though, weren't you?
Yeah, we didn't have an issue. I think it's
Oh God.
we were just talking about the energy and you got knocked off, but it's right though. It's the same thing you were telling us, that you were feeling so massive energy and not feeling here. You're still working etherically somewhere
I
else.
guess so. I don't know. I you know what? Last night was incredible. I'm gonna do Michael Abramson is going to have his first episode of, I think it's called Sacred Masculine Speaks. Here it is. Let me see. Let's see. Sacred Masculine. The Voice of the Sacred Masculine, episode 1. So it's an honor and a privilege to go on his first episode. But I think I'm going to talk about the reason I was up till 6:30 in the morning. So the whole day was like what you saw with Lori Ladd. And then the night, like we were sitting there watching this series we've been watching, you know, to pass time when a lot of energy's coming. And I'm on the couch and Morgan will start shaking her leg, like if something starts coming in, and I see that leg shaking, I'm like, oh shit. And then I felt like I was going to vomit, and I had to lay on the couch. Like I felt like I was going to drop. And I told her, I said, something's going on. She goes, I know. So anyway, we had you know, what do you call it? Sacred sex interlude, but nothing like ever before. It wasn't even, I can't even explain it. Like, so the whole day was like that. You know, I should have.
How long have you been processing this energy? Because when you and Shanine did that talk, was it like less than a week ago, 4 days ago, maybe?
I think that was today's Monday. I think that might have been like Thursday.
Yeah, that talk sent me into huge initiations. Like just the level of authenticity from both of you, and just how something she's really good at. Both of you are. I saw it in there with her. She just is such a present listener.
Who's that? Oh, Shanine?
Yes. Like when you were like speaking in that talk, like I could feel the presence of her literally interpreting like all the energy coming towards her. Yeah. And that sent me into like something huge, because you were just expressing a lot of, you know, just how you feel about hierarchy and maybe a lot of patriarchal themes, just energetically, at least in how it's all dissolving. And I felt like then, like, I mean, when I saw you on that show to then with Lori, I feel like you've just been like going through some huge expansions.
I think absolutely. And I think that, and you were talking about this. We met after the show yesterday, and we had a meeting. Yeah. And you were talking about like the masculine and feminine. We're talking energy, because everybody's got them, and that's very true, and just all the dynamics of that. But I think what's gone on is, because I'm married to a seer, so I get firsthand information. But I've watched this whole dance, and I've watched it in couples, and I've watched it in individuals. I've watched it in, I've noticed like in certain couples, if it's a man and a woman, I've seen it. I've seen the masculine energy over the majority of the frequency from the woman, and vice versa. We had a couple of friends, same-sex couples, and I've seen it shift both ways. I mean, there's just all this weird stuff going on, but I think overall, the feminine energy has been ahead of the masculine energy, and I think the masculine energy has now completed the circle. And I don't know when it happened, but I know for me, it's been this period that you're talking about, the culmination of it, which was then accentuated or emphasized or validated by, intimacy last night, which wasn't anything like anything I've ever experienced. There was no performance. There's no, what am I trying to say? There's no robotic motions. There's no technique. There's no nothing. And like, this has been a long, long journey, because Morgan's very beautiful. She's hot. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, so you could have like flashes of it, and then you go into, I got to do this, or or I want this, or it's not really that easy to explain. I figure we're going to talk about it on Michael's show today, but to your point, I think this is what it's been related to. Mm-hmm. I think that it's because last night there was no falling back into any. It was like freestyling. It was like totally intuitive and instinctive. Wow. Like when you start to realize that so the body is just like the universe, right? So say the universe is made up of, say the earth is made of 8 billion people. Every one of these 8 billion people is composed of the same substance, and they are capable of all the same thing, right? So the body itself, as a physical representation, there's no part of the body that can't be an erogenous zone, that can't bring soulgasms. It's just like a totally, and I think this is I saw, that Robert Sepper guy from Atlantean Gardens. So you guys got to watch his stuff. He's got like 300 videos. He's an anthropologist. He's incredible. He lives in LA. I've tried to get him on the show, but I watched one of his programs, and it was talking about sex, and it was talking about the old, like in the ancient text and in old traditions, this stuff of the what am I trying to say? The original function of intimacy in sacred sex, no orgasm. There was all these points, and the whole idea was that when the gods came in the flesh, that this is how they generated like toroidal fields of their creativity and stuff. Oh, yeah. It wasn't. So I told her last night, this is an adult show, right? So I said, what I'm noticing is there's a real big difference between a porn erection and a pure erection, right? Like a porn erection can't come fast enough, right? It can't, get to that point fast enough, and it has to release. And a pure, and it could just be change the word from erection to arousal, and a pure one comes whenever it's meant to come. No pun intended, but I mean, so I don't know. This is, to me, it's just like an indicator of what we're all getting into.
I think
Yeah, I think it also lasts longer, and it's not about instant gratification.
No.
It's not that old paradigm of belief system where sexuality has been distorted and everybody's playing at it. Everybody else is playing at it. And those people doing the work and doing all the clearing, especially with the sacral, and those old programs are really being cleaned out. And a lot of people that I know that also been on your show, they've been on this kick of celibacy, they've been doing these things, they've been doing the guidance because they're clearing all that at the same time, making space for themselves, self-love, in order to have that divine union coming into them whenever that is.
Yeah.
I think too, what came up for me when you were speaking is, as the body shifts and the Kundalini reverses and starts moving back up, we gain access to our intrinsic birthright of pure feeling. So everything starts to come back, right? When we lose access, the senses become dull, right? So it's like that's when even people just start to eat and there's no more gratification because they're not even taking in the joy of, the aroma or how it's making them feel. And even if like you date back to being a child, the first time you have a friend, how just their smile makes you feel, right? Or the first time you do start, have your first love or your high school sweetheart, just look at them, right? Just the thought of them, you just get excited to see them. We start to lose all that as we get lost in a conceptual field and an emotional field of stagnancy. And so I think that like as our body clears and the hemispheres of our brain rejoin and everything becomes rewired, these divots are literally disintegrating that have imprisoned us and blocked the spirit's ability to feel. So we're just starting to feel as pure light, it sounds like. And I think that's kind of, like, again, I come back to Lori's visual of we're all just turning into light bulbs.
Yeah, right. Well, and then you're asking about this period because you went back to last Thursday.
Yeah.
So 3 days ago, which would have been, that was Thursday, me and Shanine, I believe. And anyway, so that night or the next night is the night that the light bodies came out. Mine was feminine, very much so, and hers was masculine. And then we watched the higher selves. So that on that night, she told me last night, she's like, you know what happened? I'm like, not like you do. Can you tell me? Because I know as soon as she says it, it's all going to go, And she said, well, you received for the first time that night. So your feminine, which is the receiver, allowed that, for the first time. So that was another part of this thing I was talking about with masculine energy. But even like last night, as say we were kissing, I was watching us up there. Like we were mirroring what they were doing. It was crazy. But this means that this energy is available. We're just talking about, it's not about that. It's about the like the I don't say the disclosure, but the revealing of our sexual creative power, all of us. It's exciting.
It's funny that you're saying that because I didn't mention it or had said anything, but I did mention to Michael before we were on, we were talking, and I mentioned I had a dream where we were kind of merging with each other, but it wasn't so merged, but it was energetic merge in aspects since we're doing a lot of work together in the co-creativeness. And I've mentioned to him, it just feels like that's a little snippet of what we're all doing co-creatively, but in the dynamic of divine union, it's going to be powerful. And that's what I was showing in whatever state I was in. It was interesting.
Is this Michael? You're talking about with Michael?
Yeah, because we were talking about creation.
Yes.
And we were talking about doing other things and connecting and finding other things to be creatively growing. Yeah. So there was creative activations happening in state where we were unified in order to create something. But I was shown right after that, there was this energetic aspects of divine feminine and divine masculine coming in together. Yeah. And I felt it. It was not even action. And it was just like if it were touching and at the same time having this weird aspects of soulgasms with no movement. And I was like, wait, I haven't had that happen before. Yeah. So you're putting that into perspective. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I was seeing. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting.
Well, and that can happen. You know, like that could happen with me and Michael. It can happen with you and Michael. It can happen with me and you. If we're you know, collaborating and co-creating. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when you're doing like you know, a poem or you're creating something, even if I'm just like, you know, working on making a video production, or I get my Kundalini gets fired up, you know. So if you have two mixing, it's just and it's, you know, Morgan told me a long time ago because when I met her, the first night I met her, we merged. We started at the heart. It was very organic and natural, and we went through all the chakras, and then that became a common thing, right? But she said, this is how we live, love, and learn in other dimensions. We just, and think about it, you just come together. Where I'm deficient, I pick up from you and vice versa.
Yeah, it's like we're moving from the instinctual back into the intuitive realm of being, like from senses back to spirit. And I just keep referencing that talk you had with Shanine, because I told you this, I think when we had our private call, was just that I cried for 4 hours, like just and then I had major throat chakra stuff happening, because you were speaking so much from your throat chakra, like just really like there was like your full truth, no filter. And so it's like it literally carried such a frequency that was like anything that was inside of me that's not being said, right, was like activating. And so I was choking for like 3 days. Like my dad was like, you need to get water. Like, but like Todd was just like, his throat chakra was like, and so it was like activating throat chakras.
Well, and see, that to me is like a merge, right? Like, or at least it's an activation, because it's happened to me. People activate me, you know, and I think that's that illumination Lori was talking about. Like,
and there was a lot of connection too. So I watched Michael's talk with Denise Chadwick, and he was talking and referencing as well as movement from the karmic old connections and shifting energy towards where it's more openness, and how he's moved and shifted that dynamic too. So it's interesting overall, the aspects of how the clearing and everything else. And when we're coming together, it's just like, oh yes, that's exactly what I've been doing. Feels good. And having that creation and the co-creativeness that's happening overall with everybody, and it's just the interaction and the code that's happening. And your talk with Shanine, I mean, I was at work listening, and I was like, oh my god, yes, they're like totally dropping my bombs.
Yeah, all right. Yes.
And I was like, oh my god, this is powerful, this is powerful, this is what we need. And I'm so glad you guys are going to be having that co-creativeness and getting together and having like the truth, what's happening in.
Yeah, I mean, we've been connected. I mean, I never saw her name, and so it was 1999. Jesus Christ, 2019. It was January the 2nd. I had been called to Hawaii. You know, got nothing. Morgan and I got married, divine union ceremony. That was awesome. And then she had to go back. And so anyway, so she got over there, and we were literally living off crackers and cheese, man. And I was paying for 1 to 2 days at a time. And it was very rough. And she got sick. We both got sick, technically. Hers was 13 days, mine was 17 days. And I'm talking about and they overlapped, but I'm talking about from the root chakra, it went right up through each chakra, like 2 or 3 days at each stop. And it was grueling. It was horrible. Anyway, so that had happened. She'd recovered, and we were staying at this place, paid a couple of days. And that's when I said, I got kicked off of Facebook because I used to get kicked off a lot. And I said, I can't take this anymore. So I got out of bed. I went on YouTube and I put up the word sovereignty on the, like underneath the picture. And I just started going, you know what? We're going to create our own network. And here's what it is. and so anyway, that happened. And then like, I put up an announcement. At the bottom of the announcement, it said PayPal. And Shanine sent me a message and said, I'm in. And she sent like $30, 40, whatever it was. I can't remember. So she was the first one to send a contribution. And from that day on, she was always, she's always been consistent with support, love, contributions, and of course, collaborations. But there's some type of, I always see that English group over there, like Dr. Joe and Denise and Suzanne Amara and that whole group, Mark McNichol. I don't know, it's like our cousins or our brothers and sisters, that live geographically or positioned over there. I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, she's always been there. So yeah, we're going to collaborate once a week. And she's Irish as well. That's what she said.
I love that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I just say overall, I love that connection that there is, and it's like that. Before connecting with Michael too, I saw his. He was going to be on with Denise Chatwick, and his energy was like boom, and I was like, something's going on. So I messaged him, and I got like this vision of him, and I sent it to him, and it's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like your energy's a little like hyping yourself up, but there's something there like nervousness. And I sent him, it's like, I see like there's a tree, like the Avatar tree in that one movie, and you're underneath it in the womb of growing, getting ready to be born, and it's rebirthing, and it's just like he's in a gestation period. Yeah. And I mentioned it to him yesterday, and he's like, my mom does automatic writing, and she got a message for me that I'm about to be reborn. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's syncing up to that, as well as the message coming in to him about all these things that are happening. There's just a whole nother level of creativity coming in, and it's just like a doses. And I think all of us are definitely getting that. I'm seeing a lot of people are stepping up in all different ways and forms, into an entirely different thing that is just coming in, co-creating an amplification of everything that this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Denise says she totally sees that for Michael. Denise Chadwick.
Yeah, I feel like what I was telling Dahlia the other day is just this sense of, well, first, like there's, for so long, just not a lot of desire to be out or to share yet, just more the poetry coming in, letting it birth. And then you feel that shift. And I do feel a lot of people are turning on, and just, I see a lot of people that for years didn't feel comfortable speaking publicly about their awakening, their spiritual experiences. But I do feel like there's this intuitive impulse being lit in a lot of hearts right now. And it does feel good too, because I forgot who I told the other day, because I said I've never really felt a part of a community or considered myself a part of a community, because what that meant and how it was saturated in the old paradigm, and how that would what that would turn into: power, hierarchy, disequilibrium. But then I was just like crossing that threshold where the external world isn't mirroring karma as much, but now it's like light on light. And then Nahara Saskia, she wrote something about imagine where light and light become symbiotic, and they're just having an energetic experience, like something to that extent. And that's what I'm feeling here. And so that's like, this is a community that's not confined by the label of community. It's just a heart space, you know?
Yeah.
It feels good.
He explains things like,
I know, right?
I think I can do it, but I listen to him and I'm like, shit. I just need to produce stuff. I don't need to get on here and talk anymore. But no, I think that's very true. I think that symbiosis is that sacred intimacy, that sacred sexual dance. You know, and sometimes, well, you know, it's in us. Let's say, so it's all energy, right? And it's in us, that dance, that divine union, and then we start to externalize it. And it can be. It's not a romantic thing, you know. I mean, it's not. It's something else. It's higher than that. It contains that, but that's just like a little minuscule part of it. But I think that's what it is. It's that symbiosis is what we're talking about. You know, it's available. She said something else too, Lori Ladd. Well, I you know, and I don't know if it was on video or on the show, because on the show I was like split into 6 different places or something. But she talked about how the Mother Earth once Mother Earth got past 50%. This is a done deal. Like this last 10% that she was talking about. You know, just the 10% of consciousness that's not in balance with the 90%, regardless of what the storyline is, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how do we create that? What does that look like? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's very powerful. And I think she did mention that part where saying, well, there's several different timelines. Which one are you choosing to pay attention to? Where's your direction going to? Yeah. And when we're connected to so many different souls and connections like this, and the people watching and the ones that do totally vibe in the frequency, we're shifting along together and aligning. And the people that want to stand will stand. People that don't want to stand will fall off on that. And that is overall with their guidance and their divine free will that they choose. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things at this moment. It's just like, we're just going up, and up. And it's kind of reminds me of the things that was shown with the new creation that's happening, the new things that we're building with. It's entirely new material. It's nothing that we're reusing. And it's shifting up even higher from where we're at. So we think like, oh, okay, this is new. And just like the last time that you shared that whole experience with Morgan, and then you just had one last night, it just totally shifted that to even more higher to that other experience you had. So it's never this is the new way. It's more of like we're dialing up. And it's the creation of the new human.
That's what she said last night. She said, no, this was earlier in the night. We were just talking as we normally do. And she's like, it was after the Lord show. And she's like, because I was like plasma, you know, like a pancake. I was just like, holy shit. I had a smile on my face, a big grin. And so, of course, she's seen this was coming for all of us, you know. But she said, she was trying to describe it. She goes, you know what it feels like? It feels like you have a brand new radio station, right? And that's what you're saying. It's like you dial up, and a lot of people talk about when they connect to other dimensions or whatever you want to call it. I've heard people say they've got to come down and I've got to go up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the same thing. We're going up, and each time we go up, there's new radio stations and other things. Yeah,
that's yes. You know, something that really was a big initiation for me was I don't know if it was I don't have the timeline, but maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago, Morgan wrote about the death of like the patriarchy, or the patriarchy. Like she wrote like a long post about how like she was moving through the energy of it. And that was a huge initiation for me, because I think part of my physical incarnation is obviously like, I'm Hispanic and I'm gay in this world. Those were two defining principles in how I experienced the external world before I understood the coded messaging.
Yeah.
And when she wrote about, I was literally going through like a major death when she wrote that.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful. I teared up when I read it, and I like literally committed to taking off like a month and a half. I think I didn't like create any video work. I didn't post anything on Facebook, nothing. And I think that was, so I had just done The Politics of Attachment, which you could really feel the energy of the spirit trying to free itself from the patriarchy and labels and the paradigm of fear.
Yeah.
And so the next piece I wrote after that was actually The Monarch. So that was a big initiation for me. And I loved that post. And so, yeah, thanks, Morgan, if you're watching.
Wow. See, there he goes again, describing things like that thing, the Monarch. Well, both of those were incredible. They were incredible. So it's like I don't know. It's like what am I trying to say? I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like a quality. I know this doesn't sound right, but quality versus quantity. Like, okay, there's so many different examples, but if you look at if I look at my own situation, sacred intimacy, like, in the old relationships, it's like, are we going to rub bellies tonight or whatever? You know what I mean? It's like, especially if you have kids in the house and you have these routines and the stress release and of course the distortion of it all played into all that. But there we were, I think it was too big of a factor in relationships. It was too much of a priority. In other words, it was too much of a measurement of relationships. How often do we do this? Well, now, you can have a sacred, intimate encounter with your partner and it like blasts you. It's like you're talking about being blasted. You can blast you and it's not even about. I feel like last night that energy was available for the first time for me. And again, it's not about, it was all about me in a sense. It's never them, it's always me. And yeah, it was like, I've never been through that before. So it became like, I think she said to me, this is still going to be here. We don't have to climb Mount Everest tonight. You know what I mean? But I think I'm not talking about sex or sacred intimacy. I'm talking about this energy that's available, which I think has become available based on what she's saying and what I think some other people have written, which is the circle's complete now. Mm-hmm. Like both have created this circle, both energies within us, the masculine, what we call the masculine and the feminine, because you could actually call it a lot of other things. But there's a circle that can't be completed by one. It has to be both,
I think one of the points you made in there or a second ago too is how fast this is happening, because it's when these thought forms that have literally been, embedded in the psyche and the emotional imprints in the auric field, in the heart space, the energy centers, when they're transmuted, which is happening at such a fast pace, like I find myself moving slower, speaking slower, because I feel like where I lived and breathed yesterday is already obsolete today. Mm-hmm. Because the amount of thoughts and emotions that are being transfigured within each moment, which you see in the collective, what looks like chaos to the physical eye is really, we just see like all of the grid work for the old paradigms collapsed. So the body's reconfiguring, right? Which everyone feels this internally. And so our body's no longer equipped to suppress or hold these energies in. So right now, what I see is just like I get a visual of every emotion and thought from the old paradigm just like spewing out of us as cylinders, and everything's floating around. And as light expands, we continue to breathe from the spirit, speak from the spirit, create, have interactions more and more each day. And so it's like, even I look at some of the things, not the poetry, because the poetry is pretty consistent from where it comes from, but like if I'm journaling myself or I'm in conversation, just how much, like, I wouldn't even say it's a physical philosophy. It's just more an understanding of everything's perfect. And if it's triggering me, it's triggering something that's still unresolved.
Yeah, the work is being done at an energetic level. Complete energetic level. So when we're seeing it, we're feeling it, even when we're getting triggered, we're having that pause, transmute, time for transmute, and then continue. So it's that slowness that really just pulls us in, just instead of just reacting like have we done in the past. We're no longer in the human mentality of the old where we just react. It's more of like pause, wait for the wisdom, see where you're moving, check within self, and then act. And that's what it's the biggest experience at this moment that we're being pulled to.
Yeah.
And do you both, question for you guys, because do you guys both ever, one of the things that's like kind of disorienting for me is moving from like conceptual recycled thinking in conversation to not knowing what's going to come because it's just a movement of the spirit. So like the old paradigm is we collect and assemble and assimilate, and then energy lives inside of us, and then energy is just constantly recycled, right? Like it's cyclical. But to now, like even with memory, like I feel like my memories are real fleeting, and in conversation now it's more intuitive. So it's like responding to energy rather than, oh, let me pull this out of the memory banks. Do you guys feel that experience a lot?
Yeah. Go ahead, Delia. You go first.
Yeah, well, I've also had cathartic experiences where you have a memory and there was like a healing overall with an experience with a relative that I was able to pull through that old memory, but I was able to see it in their perspective in order to have compassion and everything else. I think it just depends on what it is at times, but it is also our past belief systems. And I was like, oh, I used to think that in the past. I no longer hold that. And I see it in a greater aspect of what the lesson was. And being able to go back and see the lesson of it is just like, okay, I can really appreciate the wisdom of that, even if it was painful, to really just pull away and just move towards something else, because you're just grabbing that way, not carrying that longer old pain anymore. It's no longer a part of you. You're just like, I'm done with that. I'm grateful that I experienced that. I learned that. I don't have to go on and carry another karmic cycle because I have not decided to learn that lesson. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen with a lot of people. It's like, I'm done with that. I don't want to continue and recycle back into another earth-like other frequency, lower or higher, where that same loop is playing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've experienced the same thing. I can't explain it the way either one of you did as well. Mine's sounds more superficial, but it's like so what Michael said about, or one of you said, the body's not built to repress anything anymore. So that means anything that's presented, which is kind of on the outside of you, is not going to be allowed to be repressed. Like we're going to get to a point where either through energy and or words, which is still energy, we're going to address it as it comes up. But if anything is inside of us, any old things are playing, it's going to come out too. It's just gradually coming. So this is the way I see it is, I can't fake it anymore. I can't like talk to people and be fake.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the people.
No.
It just has to do with me. So I don't talk to a lot of people because I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not there yet. I still have stuff I'm working on. And so when I do talk to people, I guess I kind of we choose our frequencies. We choose our situations now. I think that's another part of it. Like you were saying, Delia, like I'm not going to do that anymore, which means I'll do this. I'll play with these toys, but not that toy. But when I do am in the company of someone like y'all, like the people that are on, you know, I find that for the most part, the conversation's easy. It flows pretty good, but it's very obvious to see where there's something unconscious or a blind spot, and I'm sure they can see it in me or whatever. But you can tell it's not. There's something like there's a hitch, and it's I've seen it through our travels with people. If you look at the people and the situations that we've gone through since 2017, it's like we're seeing the same thing, but it's just getting, it's fading out. Like I remember in 2017, we got hit with all these people, you know, we had the ceremony, it was just one of those moments. It was one of those epic moments. We didn't have any money. And all of a sudden, this guy from Des Greensoul, bless his heart, did this video and said, help Todd Morgan. Next thing you know, we had enough money to have have this thing go off. But after it all happened, there was a bunch of fallout. There was a bunch of backstabbing and gossiping and sabotaging, but those cycles have continued, but it's much less harsh. It's like mild. It's like just slowly fading out, which has to do with the individual, not who you're running into. Like like we keep saying, it's never them, it's always me. But it makes it interesting, I've always been able to talk to people, and now I'm getting to where, like, was it you? I can't remember which one of you it was. I didn't sleep last night, but the whole thing about not reacting, like going into that meditative or silent mode. It doesn't have to be like, but I mean, just, I've seen that in myself, big time, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now that's our biggest thing, where we're just like, just feeling it out. And when we do have something to say or whatever, we're coming from the raw, authentic way of how we're saying it. So that's if we're dropping mic bombs, saying F this, F that, and however we're feeling and expressing it is the truest, authentic way that we're saying, I'm not going to be doing certain things. And this is my truth. I'm going to stand in my truth. I'm going to stand in my sovereign self, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. And saying F everything else that doesn't vibe. In reality of it is, we're also saying that energetically. And we're also coming in a way of saying, well, you know what? It is going to be what it needs to unfold, and we're going to flow. And allowing certain things to come with ease and grace, or have that thing smack us right in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. Good comments, too. Very good comments.
I know, other people are lit.
I know, man. I was just, and they're coming so fast. I can't. Let's see. Yeah. So Morgan said, upfront and direct is the only way we can be now. Anything else hurts the soul. And this goes back to what Michael said. Our bodies aren't built for repressing anything. So, it's kind of like going back to Lori yesterday. This is going down.
Yeah.
This is going down. It's just a matter of how we make that look, or how we, put our finishing touches on the actual experience itself. Pamela said, do yourself honor, be authentic always. We are the example. I think that's another thing that is happening, is that our energy is speaking. Our energy is becoming the dominant method, a receptor, and of communication. We're maybe it's tied to intuition or telepathy, but because I think it was her talking about it, about how you can say one thing, a variety of different ways. It's the energy that speaks, and I think we're starting to.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things too that we've mentioned before. I can't remember who was on or off cameras in the past, but saying, well, somebody's coming in saying they want a certain thing, but they have an unconscious program or something's happening in deep in a different level, that if they're conscious or not conscious, that their energy is saying something else.
Yeah.
And then also how we're very more in tune with ourselves, that we're like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but your energy is telling me something different. That it also is making us pause and say, do I really want to engage with that? To really tap in is that going to be to my highest good overall into what I want to create?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how. Oh, go ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say, you go.
I liked how Lori talked about when you come in touch with someone who's vibrating there, that you'll start to gain a greater sense of compassion, because you understand that they're subjugated by, and I'm paraphrasing, but they're subjugated by specific laws, and it's the old paradigm. And literally, that's what I was talking about. The body is being reconfigured, on every level, from the spirit moving back in subatomically. So when you understand the laws, it's almost like expecting you see a 7-month-old baby crawling, and you want them to run, right? Yeah. And it's like, if you understand the laws of consciousness, you understand, they're in pain, their energy in their body still holds it, and they don't understand that consciousness has the potential to transform and experience itself in an expanded way. So it's usually, for me, when I feel a sense of judgment, form within my psyche as thought, or emotionally I become afflicted, I know that, again, it's mirroring something to me, because immediately when that energy is transformed, that judgment is replaced with compassion, which I think Denise and I spoke about a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you're able to see them fully and understand that they're just moving through something. A lot of times for me, especially just with my karma and my incarnation, what it's been specifically is, it was spending a lot of years just listening to people project what they thought intrinsic aspects of my being or poetry. And I just had that experience for the first time. And this is where I also think there's an intersection with, again, your talk with Shanine and your throat chakra initiations for us. Was I had someone, in my family who's kind of still fundamentalist and, very much tethered to their faith or their religion. And I understood that, and I saw it, and an organic interaction came, because they were telling me Jesus is the only way, your poetry kind of is, it's not talking about Jesus enough, basically. And I really felt if this experience is coming, I know I'm meant to meet this experience. So I just said, that's not where I live and breathe. I honor the Christ, and I honor your perception and experience of the world, but I also honor where I live and breathe, and this is my experience. And I think just feeling called in that moment, okay, that's not something I would have done in the past. I would have just said, all right, and kind of just shrugged it off. But I think some of the comments in there saying, now we have to meet it. Our bodies, our energy filled, by the law of the spirit, we have to meet it with pure feeling, and we have to respond when something shows up in our external world and honor it.
And address it.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you can put a blind eye to some things because it comes up again in your field. And it's always those little comments or things like that people are thinking. It's saying you're not pure, you're not higher believing, I am. And it's like, whoa. But it's also their projection, and we just have to honor their projection and where they're at to work with it and really let go of those judgments that people project, because it kind of is foretelling of where they're at. And there's some people that they are happy where they're at. They don't want to move past anything else because they're comfortable in that little box that they created for themselves. Yeah. And they're happy in that. And that's quite all right. I mean, everybody to each their own, but if they're expanding right now in this moment, a lot of people are having this greater awakening. And at this very moment, we are embodying it. And a lot of us are being put to the platform saying, okay, open up. And I was mentioning to Michael, I'm naturally an introvert. So for me to be like, I won't shut up about Star Galactic Family. I won't shut up about energy. I won't shut up about certain things because that is part of the passion in activation. And even where I work at, there's people, it's like, you know what? I really love talking to you because you just bring me this calmness. And it's that connection. And it doesn't matter to me where they're at or where I'm meeting them. I'm just going to always come and project that in with the heart space. So they also feel something for that. And whatever activation's happening, interaction, if it's either on the phone or in person or even like this, it is always going to be projecting with divine love, wisdom, and appreciation for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what about when do you say something and when do you not say something? I think that's part of what we're working out.
Yeah.
And I go back to something else Lori said yesterday, which was it's going to happen to everybody. Everybody's going to start going, hey, at some point, they're going to go, okay, who said that? Why do we have to do that? Like they're going to start questioning, she was using the example of that guy ran into at Walgreens, that one day something would happen. It may not be the issue of the mask, but it'll be something. And so having understood that, you walk out the door and you're in a situation or messaging or on a phone call or whatever the human interaction is, and something's happening, you can see what Daya's talking about. You can see what's going on with the person. And I think we're in this space right now of how do we, when do we say something? When do we not say something? And I don't think there's a perfect answer, to be honest with you. I think just each situation on a one-to-one basis is how we're doing this thing.
Yeah. I mean, we all get a bunch of different things and connections with everybody. I mean, I feel the connection to you, Todd, and I know when you're going through something, it's like, ooh, don't engage. Spirit would tell me, okay, it's okay, green light, go. And that's when we connect.
Yeah.
And you come in and you're like, oh, I was going through something, and I'm like, I wasn't here. And I was like, that's no problem. I get it. Yeah. And same thing with Michael, and I feel his energy like, hey, he needs to shift. And when I was talking to him, he said, thank you very much. A lot of things are resonating for me. And I was going to message him, oh my God, your energy just shifted. But I was like, I don't have to. He already knows it. He's ready to go on with Denise. And he told me I was ready. Something happened that I was like, I felt calm. And even before we got on here, we were like, I don't know what it is. I was like, didn't sleep. I was like a lot of energy. And he says, I just feel very calm. Yeah. And I've had that happen with other people where it's like, do I engage? I'll get the green light to go ahead and connect. But regardless of that, I think it's always that really doing something when you're not saying you're from ego, you're just tuning in. It's like, okay, spirit, you tell me. And just flowing. And really flowing, letting all that go, just really flowing, which is something that normally as a Capricorn, it's really hard to do because you want structure and you want lists, you want little things done to just really release. And I think we're just fully going to a way where this year really has been about flow. This is this lesson. It's flow. Yeah. You never know from one day to another what's going to happen. What is the narrative saying that we're going to have to fear? Yeah. Basically, is hornets? What is the flying bats? What's happening? And reality of it is whatever. Even not paying attention to all that, it is flowing with it all.
Yeah.
I think to the question, the paradox of knowing when to engage, when to speak, when to just honor the person in front of you expressing themselves in those, especially those charged, there's a lot of charged exchanges right now in the world, right? Because energy is really trying to work itself out. And I'm still definitely navigating that. But I think that, like, for me, it's usually if I feel like my heart starts to race and my palms start to sweat, then I'm like, I need to say something, because energy right now in this moment is feeling like repressed. Right? It's feeling like something needs to move energetically. But also, I think that there's times we just see, and I think Dolly said something like this earlier, where you also start, like, as everything starts to expand, you see that every role is equally vital to the collective. And there are some forms that aren't meant to transcend duality in the physical. Like, they're going to leave this world in duality, and their role in the paradigm shift is just as important, because maybe they're unmasking things, or they're a form of illumination. So it's like, basically every time we come back to a state of judgment, we're again losing just the perfection of, this is all right on time, it all makes sense. And even kind of with the what's going on right now, it's, we always like, the spirit knows that the spirit leaves when it's meant to. It experiences everything when it's meant to. So when we lose ourselves and we kind of get lost in all the fear, we're no longer trusting, and the spirit trusts and has faith because it's eternal. This is a big, beautiful dream to it. But the fear kind of creates the nightmare narrative, and we forget that we're going to do this forever, because that's what we do. Hopefully next time we're flying in the sky.
Well, that depends if you choose to tap into that channel, because technically there's time. It's the illusion. So if you want to shift into focus, hopefully, Homer and I talked about this, who's my friend, that it depends on what channel you're tapping into, because all aspects actually, they all live at the same time in each moment. So you can actually tap in even in etheric dream state as a different being, getting information, and then whatever information that you do have, or it's necessary to have here in this earth plane, you're able to tap in and bring down. It's the same thing as you're visiting the Akashic. It's just, what book are you grabbing, what information you're grasping, and if you're able to pull it through, if you needing to need it here now, it would be available to you.
Yeah. True. You just bring it back with you, basically. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful few days. So we've got Kathlena Haley on in 30 minutes. And then Michael Abramson, that show, I'm going to be on his show. That ought to be interesting. This is his first show. Michael's a great guy. I think that's at 3:30 Eastern. And then we have somebody, I don't even know who it is, somebody named Seth, that looks pretty interesting, that's coming on tonight. So, yeah. Y'all want to do this again next week?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do something during the week or whatever, next weekend. I'd like to get another open mic, would be good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were like, let's share some stuff, but whatever we're in the flow of, it just comes in.
Well, it's just like that show yesterday. I saw her video. I watched most of it. I'm laying on the couch. I sent her a note, because I'd sent her a couple of notes. I think a couple of us did. And she said, and she's very busy. But the last time I sent it, she said, look, I'm really busy. But yeah, I'd like to, but I don't know when or something. I said, you know what? Why don't we just do it spontaneously? And that's exactly what happened. So I woke up. She said, that sounds good. I said, okay. And then, but because it was in the flow, everything, came in really intense. You can tell. You can tell. Yeah, and it was on a Sunday, which I don't usually work on Sunday. So I don't know. It's a good way to start the week, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it was perfect timing with everything that was coming in and a lot of us were experiencing. It was a whole other activation.
Yeah.
And just even seeing the interaction between you guys, we really, a lot of us really shift and tap into that energy to whatever level that was every one of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Sedona. Yeah. All right. I'll see y'all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Take care. Take care, everybody. See you in a little bit. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Delia. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, sister.
Bye.